Okay, tying the Sculpzilla today. Going to start out with the Ahrex HR431 size 8 hook. Any wide gap, short shank hook will do though. Just going to pop it in the vise there. We got Veevus gel spun, the GSP thread, white in 100. Just put a thread base on there. Hit it with just a little UV resin or super glue, whatever you got, just to kind of lock that thread in. I tend to do that throughout my flies, is just kind of add some locks in there. Then we got the micro rabbit strip. I'm using a flesh color today, but you can tie them in black or olive, white, any color really. And then you just want to kind of separate the fur from the hide. It makes it easier to get a good tying point. I'll get there eventually. You want to move that thread towards the eye of the hook. You don't want it way back there. Then just place it right on top of the hook. A couple loose wraps. Then just a couple underneath and a couple back over the top. Then you can really pull down good and give it a good tighten. Couple wraps in front, whip finish it, cut the thread, another shot of UV resin. Pro Sport Fisher makes that one. I think it's the best one on the market. The Loon makes one as well. It's pretty good. I think the Pro Sport Fisher just dries a lot harder. The Loon stuff can be kind of soft, which can be good in some instances. And then you get your backing. So this is kind of just the biggest pain in the butt. It will want to fray sometimes. So get the first guy in there. You can kind of get it wet a little bit, but you can see it fraying right there. It's just not wanting to go. And yeah, that happened. So a little trick is, if it just doesn't want to go in there, you can get some Zap-A-Gap or super glue. Put just a little on the base of your vise or on a piece of cardboard or something. And then just get the ends of that backing and just touch it to the super glue and give it a little twist. Try to get like a little point to it. You can see that one's pretty bad, so I'm just going to snip that off there. Touch on the super glue, try to get a nice little point to it, and that actually helps a lot. So pull all those fibers back and thread it through the eye of the hook. Then what I do is I pull that backing against the hook, and it allows the eye to be a little bit more open. Once you get the ends, I kind of even them out. And you get that loop, and what you're going to do is feed the ends through that loop, just like that. And just pull it tight so it's on the front of the hook there. You don't want it up over the eye of the hook, you want it out front. And then I'd take one extra step and, yep, the old UV resin, and just give it just a little dot, hit it with the light. And what that does is that backing's not going to move. So as we tie it in, sometimes that backing wants to get loose and you won't get a real direct tie. You just grab a 35mm shank. I'm using the fish skull. What you're going to want to do is get a pair of pliers or something like that, and that rear end, bend it out a little bit. The reason for that is it just makes it easier to cut off, so you can use a pair of pliers or dikes or something like that, wire cutters, and kind of just get it in there in the teeth and cut that end off. You can leave a little bit of a downturn there. Snip that off later. That's what it looks like. Then you're going to get your XI cone, size medium. And you're just going to thread it on. Pop it back in the vise. Here, I actually like to have it turned down a little bit. See how it's kind of level? I'll turn it down a little bit and just let gravity kind of work with me and keeps that cone at the front. Thread base it up. Get our rear section here. You want to make sure that backing's straight, so you don't want it twisted or anything. You want it in a straight line. That's another advantage of having that UV cure on the back. It keeps everything kind of pointed straight ahead. And then just kind of get your length of how long you want your streamer to be. That's what's kind of cool. You could put it right up against that shank and have a smaller one, or you can pull it back a little bit and have just a little bit bigger profile, bigger fly. The wraps forward don't matter. I mean, I just kind of loosely wrap and just kind of flop it over. I get about 3/4 to the end, and then you get those ends again, and you thread them through the eye of that cone head there. And having the super glue or Zap-A-Gap there, it just makes that easy again. So those shanks, sometimes it's almost like a side wash hook. It'll have like a little gap, so if you notice that, just give it a little pinch, otherwise that backing will slip through there when we put it through. So just thread it through, pull it to one side, get the other guy. And I'll get there. Thread it through, flip them around, and then back through the cone. So it's just kind of tedious. Like you got the backing in there, you got to put super glue on it, you're threading it back and forth. It just makes your fly super durable. Like that hook is never coming out. I don't know how big a trout you catch, but to pull 20-pound backing, out of that after it's threaded through would be pretty amazing. So here I'm wrapping a little bit tighter going back, and then right as I get back to the edge there, I want to make sure that so the backing was twisted a little bit. That's why I backed off right there. Just want to make sure it's straight. And then you can use super glue. I like the UV cure for this stuff because when you hit it with the light, it's solid. If you use super glue, then everything's going to be sticky. When you put the rabbit down, it's going to stick to that. So not a fan. Less and less I'm using super glue. Oh, fuck, I forgot something. All right, had to go grab my guinea. I'd left it in the other room. So grab that rear section. Here I don't separate the hide. When I've tried to do that, I just don't get the exact tying point, and that backing actually isn't, it comes kind of tight and it lifts the rear section up a little bit. So I just cut through the hide just like that. It looks great. It's not super important to get the fur separated. Then just grab your Estaz. That's kind of a golden olive, 4 inches or so. Get a little tying point right in the back. Just kind of latch that down. Get your thread forward, and then just palmer that Estaz forward. And I'm kind of palmering, just stroking those fibers back on the Estaz. I don't think it's super important. It's just kind of out of habit. Makes it look a little bit better, but it's not critical to the fly. You get all the way up to the cone there and just give it a couple extra wraps. We're trying to push that cone as far forward as we can. Tie it off, snip off the excess. We're done with the Estaz. Then just get that rabbit, pull it all the way forward. Here I'll separate it a little bit. And you can see when I'm tying that in there that I'm kind of trying to pull my thread towards the cone just a little bit, and then just snip it off. On some of my other Sculpzillas, I'll leave that rabbit in there and palmer it maybe 1 or 2 times just to give it a shoulder. You can do that if you want. I'm just sticking to the original recipe for this one. So just grab a guinea feather now. You want kind of a longer, wider one. This is just to kind of represent some gills. Get all the fibers down low, the soft ones, and just peel them back, and then kind of separate that tip, the tying point. Kind of like so. Lay it on the top. again, I'm not really worried about how I wrap this around because we're going to have a kind of a Grizzly soft hackle on the front that's going to push all that stuff back, but just try to kind of palmer it forward, get those fibers laying back a little bit. Like I said, you can see it doesn't have to be perfect. Wrap it around a couple times and then just tie it off. Maybe a couple more wraps behind that stem. Clip it. Phone's blowing up. Put that away. Yeah, it's coming along. So we're gonna get our pec fins. This one I was saying I was gonna stick to the original recipe. I can't help but put those hen saddles in, those India hen saddles. I just think they look good. The original recipe doesn't use Indian hen saddles. It uses marabou, just like the tips of marabou tied on each side. I just think the hen saddle looks a little bit better. So yeah, same thing as you do with all feathers. Just get that, get those fibers pulled away. So take that hen saddle, just place it on the side. I'm not going to cut these stems off. It just helps them lock in there. So I just wrap it in there. It's going to get tucked back anyways. And give it just a couple secure wraps there. And we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Yep, just pull away all those softer fibers at the bottom of the stem. There we go. Couple soft wraps and then just kind of hold them there and tighten it down. Kind of readjust them if you need to. Then our soft hackle. It's just a Grizzly barred hen saddle. Just like with marabou, we're just going to separate that tip for a tie-in point. Couple wraps there. That should do it. Again, I'm not cutting off that stem. I want those things to stay in there. And just palmering around. Make sure everything's kind of sitting where you want it to. And just, there we go. And just tie that guy off. We are going to cut that stem off. She's a little long. Pull everything kind of back, see where it's sitting. And then we're just gonna whip finish. That should do it. Cut our thread. And so the last part here, the cone's still loosey-goosey up there. So what you want to do is take your fly out, turn it straight vertical, and that's kind of key. Really get that guy straight up and down. The eye of that cone's pretty large, so you just grab your Zap-A-Gap and kind of funnel it in there. If you've ever had to add oil and you didn't have a funnel and you just drop it on the dipstick, it kind of just pours in there. So same basis here. I'm just kind of tappy. That super glue, that's a little sticky. That didn't work out great. Let me just wipe that on the bottom of my table real quick. Girlfriend's gonna love that. And yep, so there we go. Just a little tap and it'll kind of run down there actually. If it's not, you can, if you just touch it with the cone, it kind of slides down there. So just like 2 or 3 drops of that. Then you want to kind of align that head so the eyes are, you know, on the right side and push down. And all that's going to happen is that super glue, just give it a little air to super dry it and she's good. Once you've done that, get it out, pop it back in. your vise. Our eyes are on the side there, everything looks good. We're going to throw some eyes in there. So again, that's what's really nice about that UV cure. You can use super glue, but it becomes a real big mess. I throw that eye in there, it's got a little adhesive, it'll stick in there momentarily, and then just get that UV cure and fill that kind of cavity in. It's dug out, just 2 or 3 drops, and hit it with the light. It's cool. Those X-cone eyes with that UV resin, it's rad. It locks that eye in there, and it looks really cool. And yeah, they never fall off that way. So just get the other one, same thing. Pop it in there, kind of center it. You can see right there, and then just hit it with this stuff. Just 1 or 2 little drops. If it starts to run away, you kind of move it with your applicator there. Hit it with the light, and yeah, that's basically it. I mean, pretty straightforward fly. Putting the backing on and looping it through the weight and all that stuff, that's pretty much the most time-consuming part of it. But man, they're awesome flies. My buddy Colby got a fish over 20 inches on the Deschutes last year on this exact pattern. So yeah, they like them. Anyways, tie a few up and fish them.